Art history is often presented as a gallery of triumphs, a record of human beauty and divine inspiration. But if you look closely at the late 18th century, you will find a fracture in that narrative. Francisco Goya was the undisputed master of the Spanish court. He spent his days painting the silken dresses of queens and the medals of kings. Yet, in the silence of his private studio, Goya was documenting a different reality. Today, we are examining an object of profound discomfort: cannibals preparing their victims. It is a small, visceral canvas that feels less like a painting and more like a forensic report from a world gone mad. Most viewers are familiar with Goya's black paintings, the nightmares he painted directly onto the walls of his home. But this work is different. It's more clinical, more deliberate. And by the end of this video, I will show you one specific detail, a subtle choice in Goya's brushwork that suggests this scene wasn't a myth or a fantasy, it was a confession. To understand this image, we must approach it not as critics, but as investigators. The setting is a cave. In art, caves often symbolize the subconscious or the primitive. But here, the cave serves as a vacuum, a place where the rules of civilization have simply ceased to exist. Look at the figures. There is no theatrical horror here, no screaming faces or dramatic poses. Instead, we see a systematic, almost bureaucratic process of butchery. One figure holds a severed head with the indifference of a tradesman. Others work on a torso as if it were mere livestock. For the non-native ear, we often use the word visceral to describe such scenes. It comes from viscera, the internal organs. Goya's technique here is raw. He uses chiaroscuro, the sharp contrast between light and dark, not to highlight a saint, but to expose the mechanics of a massacre. What drove a man who dined with royalty to spend his private hours painting the anatomy of a slaughterhouse? In 1792, a mysterious illness left Goya stone deaf. The world became a silent movie, and in that silence, Goya began to see the hidden frequency of human nature. Traditional academics will tell you this painting is a commentary on savagery in far-off lands. It is a comfortable, safe explanation that allows us to keep the horror at a distance. But for the acute observer, this explanation fails. The figures in this cave don't look like monsters from a legend. They move with a rational macabre. There is an organized nature to their violence that is far more terrifying than mindless rage. It forces us to ask, is evil a supernatural force, or is it just a process? Goya lived through the Peninsular War, a conflict that turned the Spanish countryside into a graveyard. He saw the Enlightenment, the age of reason, collapse into a heap of severed limbs. He realized that when you strip away the titles and the silk clothes, this organized hunger is what remains. However, there is a piece of evidence that contradicts the standard historical view. If Goya painted this to condemn foreign savagery, why are the victims so disturbingly familiar? Look at the skin of the bodies. It is pale, European. They have the same features as the aristocrats Goya painted for the royal palace. This resets the entire narrative. If these victims aren't from a distant land, then where exactly is this cave? A chilling theory suggests that Goya wasn't looking across the ocean, he was looking across the street. This cave isn't a geographical location, it's a basement in Madrid. It's a barn in the countryside. The institutions of his time, the same ones that today celebrate his beautiful portraits, knew exactly what Goya was implying, and they chose to remain silent. This wasn't an observation of them, it was a mirror held up to us.
Why do we still feel this intellectual friction when looking at Goya? It's because he mastered pre-expressionism. He wasn't interested in the beauty of the form, but in the impact of the truth. In philosophy, we often discuss the banality of evil, the idea that the greatest horrors are committed by those who think they are simply doing a job. Goya captured this decades before the 20th century made it a global reality. The blurred faces of the cannibals represent the loss of identity that occurs when we treat humans as objects. Now, look at the hand of the figure on the left. There is a specific highlight of white lead paint on the flesh of the victim. Goya didn't rush this. He spent time on the texture, the weight, the reality of the meat. In the inventory of his home, Goya called these paintings his caprichos, fantasies. But in the 18th century Spanish context, a capricho was often a truth told through a lie. The final revelation is that Goya didn't paint this to shock his audience. He didn't even intend for us to see it. He painted it as an exorcism. By putting the madness on canvas, he ensured it couldn't live inside his head anymore.
Francisco Goya died in 1828 in Bordeaux, France, in self-imposed exile. He was 82. When they exhumed his body years later to return him to Spain, his skull was missing, gone, no explanation. Even in death, Goya remained incomplete, consumed. Cannibals contemplating human remains rarely appears in major exhibitions. It's too uncomfortable, too honest. Curators prefer Saturn, at least that's mythology. But this painting offers no distance, no allegory, just two humans in the dark, examining the pieces of another human and feeling nothing. So here's my question for you. If Goya saw through the illusion of meaning, of human dignity, of civilized behavior, and kept creating art anyway, was that courage, or was it evidence that he'd already been consumed by the darkness he was documenting? Leave your thoughts below, because some images aren't meant to comfort us. Some images are meant to show us what we've been refusing to see.